How can friction be changed? Objective. Describe some ways to change friction. Key term. Lubricants. Lubricants. Materials that reduce friction. Moving against friction. Friction makes it hard to move objects. Force is needed to overcome the force of friction. Suppose you wanted to push a heavy wooden box across the floor. As you push against the box, sliding friction equal to a force of 5 newtons pushes in the opposite direction. This means it will take a total force greater than 5 newtons to push the box. 1. Calculate. If the force of friction is 16 newtons, how much force is needed to move the object? Using rolling friction. Reducing friction makes it easier to move an object. One way to reduce friction is to change sliding friction to rolling friction. When you try to push a wooden box across a floor, you have to overcome sliding friction. The size of this frictional force depends on the types of surfaces in contact with each other. In this case, the bottom of the box is in contact with the floor. If you put the box on a wheeled cart, there will be much less friction. Rolling friction is always less than sliding friction. With the box on wheels, you use less force to push the box. 2. Explain. Why must you reduce friction in order to move certain objects? Using lubricants. You can also reduce friction by using lubricants. Lubricants are materials that reduce friction. For example, in a car's engine, metal parts called pistons are in contact with other metal parts. When two pieces of metal touch, there is a lot of friction. Oil is used to reduce the friction between the metal parts. Oil is a lubricant. It separates the metal parts from one another. Without the oil, the metal parts would scrape against one another. This would make the engine overheat and wear out more quickly. 3. Identify. When would it be helpful to use a lubricant? Not enough friction. Have you ever slipped on an icy sidewalk or seen a car skid out of control? These things happen when there is not enough friction between surfaces, such as your feet, and the ice or the tires and the road. In such cases, it is necessary to increase friction. This can be done by spreading sand on an icy surface or using tires with a deeper tread. Athletes often wear special footwear to increase friction between their feet and the surfaces over which they move. Basketball players wear shoes with soles designed not to slip on a hardwood floor. In several sports, players wear shoes with spiked soles to give their feet a better grip on the ground. 4. Hypothesize. Why do staircases often have rubber mats on the steps? Checking concepts. 1. Because of friction, it takes blank force to move an object. 2. When friction is blank, it is easier to move an object. 3. Waxing a floor makes the floor slippery because wax is a blank. 4. If you wear roller skates instead of shoes, you blank the friction between your foot and the floor. Thinking critically. 5. Analyze. Is it easier to push a heavy object across a carpeted floor or across a polished wooden floor? Why? 6. Calculate. Find the amount of force in each example. A. If it takes 20 newtons to slide a wooden crate across the floor, what is the force of friction? B. By putting wheels on the crate, the force of friction is reduced to 2 newtons. How much force is now needed to push the crate? 7. Hypothesize. On rainy days, the amount of friction between the road and the wheels of a car can sometimes be reduced by half. Why would reducing friction not be helpful in this case?